Hello everybody, so this is Josh, your attic insulator, coming to you in a 23 or 2400 square foot two-story house. This portion is about a little over 200 2,000 square feet, I should say, the top floor. And then there's a single floor that's on the side of the house on this way that drops down, and there's no second floor on top. And I would say that that would be probably around 300 square feet. There's two cathedral ceilings, one over here, and there's one at the far end as well. I know that in previous videos we had discussed tornado damage. For this video, I actually wanted to answer a couple of questions that some of the subscribers had asked. So one was the cathedral ceiling and some of the weak points. I had already done a video on the cathedral ceiling, but I just wanted to point a couple things out, and we'll go and check out those cathedral ceilings over there just so you get a nice close-up shot of what I'm talking about. The other comment was from Matt. Now he is another attic insulator just like myself, but he's got way more experience than I do. He's got about 15 years experience insulating around the Alberta, Canada area. So definitely kudos to him for sticking that out. He does beautiful attic work. Well, I look forward to getting some feedback from him just because of his wealth of knowledge. He does pretty much everything that I do, but he's done it for 5 times longer than I have. So but he's about the same age. He mentioned over on the side here that sometimes the attics, they don't have the baffles to stop wind damage on the edge of attics. So that's always very important. Here there is plywood and it does extend high enough so that I can install my R60, but ideally you would want to have another piece of insulation just to cover the top part, and I'll show you in a second. Okay, so what he's talking about is this little section here that is just covering that R60 area, because the R60 is going to be right about here, but this is sort of an open area, especially when the soffit is not in. So what we're going to do, we're going to stuff this with insulation so that it's better protected from the wind, and there's more resistance to wind damage on higher windy days, or even just average days just like today. So we're going to do that for both corners so that we avoid wind damage. And here we are at the other corner. There we go. We're going to stuff that in and continue on. This is the section that I wanted to show you. So you see that sheet of insulation I stuffed in, and then the R60 is sitting just below it, and so it is much better protected from wind damage. Those that are curious, I actually employ the exact same strategy whether it's a big house or even a small one. So I start off with the far edge and I insulate the perimeter, as you can see, right along the outer wall or the gable wall here, and I insulate on this side. I'm going to work my way back this way towards the attic hatch, and I'm going to fill the middle. And as if I can, I'm going to fill each of these gaps here parallel with the trusses. It's making it so much easier, and I can compare levels between cavities to make sure that everything is the exact same level. Here, for example, I can place myself so that I can fill the middle without hitting the trusses, and making everything nice and even right across the middle here, and then comparing the depth of the trusses with this angle. Makes it a lot easier to make everything look really nice. And the most important viewpoint is from the attic hatch, because that's where the inspector is going to be poking his head out to see if everything looks good. So obviously that is over there. If you do like what you see here, don't be afraid to give that nice thumbs up. So click on that thumbs up button at the bottom there. That's going to tell YouTube that you've enjoyed watching this video, and it's going to broadcast it to those that also are looking for similar topics like this one. So just to give you guys an idea on timeline, I've been up here for about half an hour, and I've been able to do a good portion of this second floor. And as you can see, I've been able to work at the middle here so that everything is nice and even, and we're almost going towards the cathedral ceiling, which is going to be the next topic of this video. So one thing that I wanted to explain with cathedral ceilings is that, for one, it is very difficult for insulators to insulate these. For instance, look at the top right here. Unless they installed, climbed back up into the attic and took a look at their work. The other thing is there's no backing here, so when they push the insulation, they have to be very, very careful not to over push. And you can see how there's different thicknesses and different heights for each of the sheets, and that's because there's nothing for them to push onto, and so it's very difficult. They try their very, very best, but again, they push once, and then if they have to correct, then it's going to not be as perfect as if, say, a machine would do it. So some of the weak points for cathedral ceilings are right here. For instance, this is an outside wall, but as you can see, the corner here isn't even covered. And so I'm gonna try and insulate as much as I can with the loose fill around this corner as well as on the top, just so that this house is properly insulated. See, even here and here, some of these gaps here, because it's very difficult, there's no backing, so they're pushing and being very, very careful to install. But ideally the sheets would be flush with this framing. There you have it, what I could do, but in the absence of this backing here, I can't even cover this corner properly. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important for all the trades to work together, and why I've made a video on framing tips for insulation for homes. But I know that I didn't cover particularly the cathedral ceilings for the edges here, and mostly I covered the sheets on the exterior walls. So that could be another topic where I go a little bit more in detail as to how to go about doing that, but it's a good example right here, just to show you how it should work. Great, and the first attic for this big house is all complete. So this here is the other section that I was talking about, the small 320 square foot section that only has a first floor, and the adjacent garage is over here. I had to cut the attic hatch so I could have access to it. I did that with a saw. I'm glad that we had that, and our truck, or else it would have taken much longer to do. Just sort of a side note, for ventilation, I know that I'm not a roofing expert, but I am in attics, and so I definitely feel sometimes the lack of ventilation. And you see here, there is no top roof vent. There's only these gables right here, which are okay, but they're not as good as if you had a top vent. There's more vents here on the perimeters, but like I said, the airflow should be much greater. And in extensions like this, if you're going to build your own home, you want to make sure that every section of your roof that has at least, the required top vents. Okay, so I'm going to finish things off here. Thank you for watching, and make sure that you stay tuned for next Tuesday's video. If you haven't done so, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any further attic tips and walkthroughs. All right, and the finished product here. Now for this one, I had to deal with basically this 2x4 that's across the attic hatch, and I don't know, for the framers that see this, just I know that it's hard to do sometimes, but try to be considerate for some of the trades.